Nobody expected Ethan Caldwell's son to walk again, not after all the specialists, the bills, and the years of waiting. But that rainy Thursday afternoon, everything changed. Ethan, a 40-year-old tech billionaire with silver at his temples and weariness behind his eyes, stepped into his penthouse in downtown Vancouver. His Italian leather shoes were soaked. His sharp charcoal gray coat clung to him from the storm outside. But he didn't notice the rain. He noticed the sound, laughter, not the polite kind, not the forced kind he sometimes faked in boardrooms. This was real, pure, bubbling, childlike laughter echoing through the marble hallway. He froze. Ethan hadn't heard his son laugh like that since Lily? Since the day she slipped away, giving birth to the boy who now rarely spoke, never walked, and barely looked anyone in the eye. He walked slowly toward the living room, and that's when he saw it. His 3-year-old son, Oliver, pale, blond, delicate, was balanced upright, standing on top of someone's bare feet, held high in the air like an airplane. His body bounced slightly, and his arms waved with glee. And beneath him, lying on her back, lifting him up with surprising strength and gentleness, was Zariah, the new maid, a quiet, dark-skinned woman, no older than 30. No fancy credentials, no therapy certifications, just kind eyes, soft hands, and a calm voice that Ethan had barely noticed since hiring her 2 weeks ago. Her hair was tied with a patterned scarf, her worn jeans damp from the carpet, and she was laughing, a full, radiant laugh as she played airplane with Oliver. Ethan didn't understand. This wasn't therapy. This wasn't scheduled. This wasn't approved by a team of specialists. But it was happening, and it was real. Zariah gently brought Oliver down, rolled him off her legs, and helped him to stand. She didn't hold him. She didn't guide him. She simply let go, and he didn't fall. Ethan felt like the floor shifted under stone feet. He blinked. Oliver was standing on his own, and then the boy took a step, a wobbly one, then another and another, right toward him. Ethan dropped his briefcase with a thud. He dropped to his knees just in time to catch his son. Oliver collapsed into his arms, giggling like sunlight on a dark day. Zariah sat up. Calm, steady. How? Ethan whispered. Zariah shrugged gently. You don't need to understand it. Just hold him. And so he did, tighter than he had in months, maybe ever. He felt the years of silence and disappointment melt just a little. The weight of all the doctors telling him he can walk, he just won't, suddenly lifted. Ethan looked at Zariah, still stunned. How did you get him to trust you? Zariah smiled softly. I didn't try to fix him. I just listened. He taught me his language. Ethan felt something crack inside him. He remembered all the specialists, the therapy sessions, the charts, the cold white rooms, and the even colder suggestions. He remembered walking past Oliver's nursery night after night, hearing silence and choosing not to enter. I tried to save him with money, he said aloud. Zariah nodded, calm. But what he needed didn't cost anything. Ethan sat on the edge of the couch, still holding Oliver, who now nestled quietly in his chest, content. Why? He asked. Why did you care so much? She looked down, her voice almost a whisper. I lost someone, a little boy named Micah. He wasn't my child by blood, but I was his full-time nanny. He was like Oliver, quiet, afraid of loud noises, slow to respond. His parents didn't have patience. They let me go when I asked them to slow down. A year later, he died. I wasn't there. Ethan looked at her, speechless. Zariah continued, looking toward Oliver. When I saw your son, I saw Micah, and I couldn't walk away this time. Tears pooled in Ethan's eyes. I don't deserve this, he whispered. Not these steps, not this moment. Zariah's eyes didn't flinch. Maybe you don't, but he does. Silence fell. Outside, the rain slowed. Inside, something broke. Not in Oliver, in Ethan. The walls, the hardness, the image he built of the perfect CEO father who had done all he could. He hadn't. I haven't been a father, he said slowly. Just a man living in the same house. Zariah met his eyes. You still have time. Oliver shifted, yawned, and curled deeper into his father's chest. Ethan looked at Zariah again. You're not just a maid, she shrugged. I never tried to be anything else. But you did what no one else could. Zariah shook her head. I didn't heal him. I just helped him remember he wasn't broken. Ethan nodded slowly, and for the first time in 3 years, he whispered the words he hadn't said aloud since the funeral. Thank you. Zariah stood and smoothed her jeans. He still needs stability. He's not afraid of walking. He's afraid of being left behind. He still needs stability. He's not afraid of walking. He's afraid of being left behind. Ethan looked down. Then I'll stay. I'll be home more. Zariah didn't smile. He'll know if you mean it. Ethan kissed the top of Oliver's head. I mean it. And this time, I do. The next morning, the apartment felt different, not just because the sun poured in through the tall glass walls, not just because pancakes were on the stove and music played softly in the kitchen, but because Ethan Caldwell was still home. He sat cross-legged on the floor in rolled-up sleeves and a loose shirt, tie forgotten, watching his son stack colorful blocks. No words. Just presence. Oliver stumbled, reaching too far, and fell. Ethan's body tensed, instinctively ready to catch. But Oliver giggled, pushed himself up, and tried again. Ethan blinked. That had never happened before. Zariah stood quietly in the doorway, drying her hands on a towel. You look surprised, she said. I am, Ethan admitted. I used to think he was broken. Zariah shook her head. He was never broken, just waiting for someone to stop rushing him. Ethan stood, his voice low. I rushed everything, his recovery, his childhood, even his grief. He looked at her, almost pleading. How do I fix that? Zariah walked over, handed him a small toy dinosaur. You don't fix it. You stay. You show up. That's it. Ethan sat beside Oliver, holding out the dinosaur. The boy took it without hesitation, then crawled into his lap like it was the most natural thing in the world. No fear, just peace. I can't believe I almost missed this, Ethan whispered. Zariah's voice was gentle. You didn't. You're here now. Then Ethan turned to her. Will you stay? She raised a brow. As his nanny? He shook his head. As part of our lives. Her smile faded slightly. I didn't take this job to stay forever. I know, Ethan said quickly. But you changed our forever. She hesitated, then nodded. If I stay, it'll be to keep you accountable, not just to Oliver, but to the man you're trying to become. Ethan's eyes welled. Deal. Zariah smiled. Oliver reached up and touched his father's face, and in that moment, in a room that once echoed with loneliness, a new kind of family quietly began to form, not by blood, not by contract, but by choice. And that changed everything.